Some Tengen Tetris. This is based on an Atari arcade game, as a lot of the Tengen games for NES were. They were based on arcade games, mostly from Atari, but also a few Sega games as well. Pretty funny to think about Sega games on a Nintendo console back in the late 80s and early 90s, but Tengen made that happen. This particular version of Tetris is 1-player, 2-player, co-op, versus the computer, or with the computer. We're going to start out with the single player. We're going to select level 0 just so we can get a decent amount of gameplay in. You can select the handicap in terms of how many levels of junk blocks you want. I'm going to go with none. Notice that this is programmed by Ed Logg, who is a well-known programmer of arcade games. And 4 different music types other than silence. You get Legінська. Very slow, and it kind of builds up. Brudzinski, which is just energetic all the way through. Karinka. And Troika. We're going to stick with Troika here, and we're going to get started. So it doesn't look much different than other Tetris games, right? And it really isn't for the most part. One thing that you'll notice that's different from Nintendo's version is on the right side of the screen, you can see a stat screen of sorts that's showing you the different blocks that have come down and their frequency. This is just more interesting than anything else. It's not all that useful because it doesn't dictate how many of each block you're going to get, but you can get an idea of how random things have been. We already have our first conundrum here. That's not good. Yikes. So we have a double. Slowly taking out the trash here, although it is a process. All right. So you probably know, if you know anything about Nintendo history, that Nintendo and Tengen were pretty bitter enemies during the NES era. Tengen had reverse engineered their way into making unlicensed Nintendo games, and Nintendo didn't like that. And it was all in response to Nintendo's rather draconian third-party publishing policies, which Tengen, which is primarily Namco at that time, just didn't like. So there were lawsuits. There were plenty of lawsuits, and Tengen lost most of them, but not all of them. One of the more infamous lawsuits, of course, has to do with this particular version of Tetris. Nintendo took Tengen to court over it, and the game was pulled when Nintendo won. So landing a copy of Tengen Tetris is still fairly uncommon, and you're paying a fair amount of money for it if you do find it. These days, you're paying a little over $100, I believe. That's the last time I had checked price charting. I got my copy of the game for about $70, $75, something like that. And it is something that I'm very happy with. I prefer this over Nintendo's version any day of the week. Not that Nintendo's version is bad, but to me, I think this just offers a little bit more in terms of gameplay options and in terms of style. There's more music, there are more gameplay modes. I think the game is a little bit more fair, and I think that it's more interesting overall. As mentioned, Tengen was a prolific, well, not prolific, but a pretty constant producer of arcade games, or converter of arcade games. So notice once you get to a certain point where you get 30 lines, you get a little bit of a break where you get some bonus points. The arcade was the same, so you got a little bit of a breather. Notice the dancers in the center. Very much leaning into the Russian culture, which I think is pretty neat. Once you hit the button, they disappear off stage, and you go back to the game. And you have to get another, I believe, 30 lines, and then you'll bring them back. You also get points based on how many singles, doubles, triples, and any Tetrises that you may get. Some of Tengen's other games for the NES that I really enjoy, Vindicators, which is an Atari game. RBI Baseball, of course. We just played Bad News Baseball a little while ago, and RBI Baseball is Bad News Baseball are very similar to each other. There is a version of Atari's Roadrunner arcade game, which not very many people have played. They also did publish a couple of Sega arcade games in Afterburner and Alien Syndrome. I think Alien Syndrome plays a little bit better than Afterburner, but I think your mileage may vary. So one thing you're noticing with Tetris pretty much right away is that if you do make a mistake playing Tetris, it takes a lot of effort to clean up that mistake. I'm getting some straight pieces. Ugh. No. Didn't really want to do that. Not good decision making tonight. Wait, I can do this, and then this. There we go. Again, trying to get to 60 lines in order to get to our next break. I think we'll get there. I might have spoken too soon. Three more lines, two more now. Oh. All right, we got there somehow. I don't think this is a very good effort. And unfortunately, when I start with all these junk blocks. And the game, of course, gets a little bit faster. That is the namesake of Tetris, is that the challenge increases the higher the level you go. This might be it, though. Gonna need a little bit of luck to get out of this mess. I don't know why I did that. Oh, boy. Ah. Well, this could be worse. Ah. So I have to get to 90 lines, right? Okay. One more. There it is. And the one dancer still is not impressed with me. It's okay. Yeah, let's see if I can get to 100. I'm gonna say no. But I don't give myself enough credit, maybe. That probably wasn't the smartest move. Well, there's 99. And I got to 100. Look at that. That's something I don't do every day. I am not a master Tetris player, not in a million years. I have seen some people play Tetris, and it absolutely blows my mind how quickly that they can make decisions in terms of where to put their blocks. Me, I tend to take too long to make decisions, and it comes back to bite me pretty quickly. And you're seeing it happen already. And this might be it. That's it. So 101 lines, that is not too shabby. So that is the arcade game. And you can put your name in. Unfortunately, there's no battery backup, so it doesn't keep your stats. But it's still nice to be able to put your name on the high scoreboard. So you got 2-player cooperative versus computer and with computer. And we'll wrap up this Let's Play here, this Pete's Play, by playing versus the computer. We'll go ahead and start on level 1. No handicap. And we'll do Brudinski this time. So this is what makes Tengen Tetris really stand out from Nintendo's Tetris game. Being able to play against the computer like this adds something that Nintendo's version just doesn't have. You can play against another human player, but against the computer is something that just isn't there. Now, these days, in modern versions of Tetris, playing against the computer is always an option. But back then, it really wasn't, and that is a shame, because playing against a computer like this certainly makes things a bit more tense, especially when you're not able to play with anyone at the same time. This was especially important before the days of the internet, when you didn't always have someone to play against at that particular point in time. You didn't have someone over your house at all hours to play against unless you roped your brother or sister or mom or dad or uncle or whoever into playing with you. Now, I've already made a critical mistake, and I gotta see if I can rectify that problem before the computer just dusts me. The only downside to playing against the computer is there is no speed option if you die, or if your game ends. You have to sit there and wait through the computer playing to the end. That kind of pours salt into the wound if you make a mistake, and might even be an impetus for you to not screw up. Before recording this episode, I actually had a take where I was starting with playing against the computer first, and I learned very quickly that that was a bad move. Now, the only thing I have going for me right now is that I'm well ahead of the computer in terms of score. So if I was to make a bad mistake right now, the computer would have a lot of work to do to catch up to me. But that's about it, really. Everything else here is kind of gross. The AI opponent is keeping his lines low and very much playing the slow and steady wins the race approach. I need that straight piece, dude. Ugh. Holy gross, Batman. Here's a triple, and here's another one. Or at least a double. So once you get to 30 lines, then you get your bonus points. That's a nice little run right there. Oh, and then we'll stop again when he gets to level 2, I'm guessing. Okay. Oh, grossness. Playing against the computer in this game is kind of like watching water slowly creep up from like a leak. Like, it doesn't look bad at first, and it's slow and it's gradual, but over time, you're gonna sink unless you figure out how to fix it. Need one of those pink pieces, that would be great. Not gonna happen, of course. Because what I want doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to get it. So what you're seeing here with me playing against a computer is basically what you would get if you were playing against a live opponent. Where you're not necessarily making your opponent's life any more difficult. Like, you're not adding garbage blocks or anything, but what you are doing is you're putting pressure on that opponent to make sure that they're making their drops count. Really didn't want to have to do that, but here we go. Not in real trouble yet. So I managed to overcome a couple of blunders. And I'm still in okay shape. And we're about to get to our second break. Provided I don't make another mistake. Uh-oh. There we go. So no doubles, I'm sorry, no triples and no Tetrises. That's okay. Probably could have picked a higher difficulty to move this along, but I'm okay with this. Ooh. That's probably not what I wanted to do, but it's okay. I'll go over here. Yep, that's fine. Computer's up to 15. Yeah, this is one way to make me feel like I almost know what I'm doing. I'm sure that if I was playing any other person in a live setting, that I would be getting absolutely decimated right now. Especially considering that I made errors early. I do like, however, the fact that this doesn't drop garbage blocks or add any necessary disadvantage. I think the only disadvantage here, and as it should be, is just if you happen to look over at what the other player is doing and you can see that their stack of blocks is lower than yours is, you can almost feel a little bit higher or a little bit more, a little bit stronger sense of pressure, I should say, to make sure that you don't make a mistake, because one mistake you make could be your worst. Oh, there it is. Now, what am I going to do about it? Knew it was a matter of time before I was going to screw up. That helps. Okay, up to 90 lines. And right now it looks like I'm absolutely decimating the computer, and I am. But the computer's not in any imminent danger of losing. So it is very much a tortoise and the hare scenario. I may be faster and I may be out to a bigger lead, but he can be slow and still destroy me. That's what I think makes this version of the game just so interesting. I probably... and I totally misread which way that was gonna go. Okay. I do wonder... No, because it doesn't look like the speed is getting any faster over there. Although I really shouldn't be paying attention to what's going on that side of the screen. Because that will be where I'll make my mistake. Oh, I had an opportunity and I screwed it up. There's one. I don't think I wanted to do that. That's okay. Need to get to 120. The computer is getting close to 30 lines over there. Okay. So I have almost 100 more lines than the computer. It's... I don't know whether that's funny or sad. Speed is definitely increasing, though. Yo, no, not over there. Okay. Oh, so it doesn't... So it just signifies the end of the level for him. Okay. Am I really going to work my way out of this? Wow. I am shocked. Of course, I do put myself in situations that I don't have to by making these wider gaps or these gaps that I need straight pieces to fill. Always overcomplicating matters. It's kind of my MO. Well, I gotta do that then. Did I get a triple? Alright. So, 150 lines to 32. Man. Speaking of Tetris, and this is a complete aside, and I don't talk about modern games too much on this channel, or at least I try not to, because older games are kind of my thing. But Tetris Effect is coming to Switch a little bit later this year. If you didn't play Tetris Effect on PS4 or Xbox One, don't miss this. This is a one of the best versions of Tetris that I've ever played. Now, this is my favorite version of Tetris for the NES. It is not my favorite version of Tetris of all time. That would be Tetris Effect. Tetris DS is a close second, if you can manage to find that. It is a solid version of Tetris for the DS, but Tetris Effect is absolutely fantastic, especially if you're playing on your own, especially if you're having a really rough day and you need to just kind of chill out. This is the game for you. It still plays like Tetris, obviously, and there's still an element of pressure. Speaking of pressure, I think I'm almost done here. There's still an element of pressure involved, but it is a good kind of pressure. It is a lot of fun to play. There are some really cool themes in the game. The music is great. Make sure you check it out when it comes to the Switch. I believe it is September, so it's... Wow, is it next month already? But make sure you check that out. You will not be disappointed. And I think my time is coming. too fast. I'm done. So that is a look at Tengen Tetris for the NES. The computer will certainly go on. I can tell you later on whether the computer beats me, although I think I'm going to turn it off after this video is over. It is on the expensive side. As I mentioned, if you have an NES and you're looking for Tengen Tetris, expect to pay triple digits. If you're lucky and you find one for like $80 or so, make sure you pick it up. It is unlicensed. It's one of those weirdly shaped cartridges, but I do think that the money is well worth it if you like puzzle games. It is a great version of the game, and if you can find someone selling it, make sure you snap it up. As always, I thank you very much for watching this episode of Pete Plays and all of the videos here on my channel. Make sure to check out the Unsealed series as well. And until the next time, my friends, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll do it again really, really soon.